This is lecture number DR027WS01. This is the 27th of the Mega Genius lectures and the first lecture of the Whole Truth series. It was recorded on November 22nd, 2000. The title of this lecture is Nothing But the Truth. It is 32 minutes long. Copyright 2000 by Mega Genius. All rights reserved. This lecture is protected by internationally valid copyright. It may not, in whole or in part, be duplicated, transmitted, or otherwise reproduced without the express permission of Mega Genius. Unauthorized translation, importation, or distribution is a violation of applicable laws. Mega Genius is a United States federally registered trademark and service mark. And now, here is Mega Genius.
To tell you the truth, I am now going to pull out all the stops and reveal the true power of the Genius formula. To demonstrate its astounding workability to discover all the truth about anything, I'll select one almost infinitely intricate, complex, and perplexing subject that would be to your supreme advantage to understand, and invite you on a Mach 10 ride from its beginning to its very end. The subject that we will use is truth. Truth is both the most esoteric and the most practical of all subjects. It encompasses the answers to every important question ever asked by mankind, because, and this is a mega-truth, truth is the essence of all wisdom. A factor common to individuals everywhere is that they are trying to get their bearings in this universe of disorientation and figure out enough truth to know where they should be going and how to effectively get there. Philosophy searches for the answers. Religion promises the answers. Now I'm going to give you the answers, the most basic ones. The only thing you have been missing was sufficient truth. The first thing one should know about truth is not what it is, but what it is not. It is not what you think. Now let's review our three cardinal definitions. The Genius formula is defined as a specific thought process directed toward the attainment of infinite scope of attention, thorough examination, complete exclusion of assumptions, and the employment of total differentiation, resulting in the understanding of falseness and the identification of truth. It is also defined as the analytic procedure of reasoning innately used by persons of very superior intelligence. And it is also defined as the most basic and effective process to isolate and identify truth. Mega Genius is defined as a person of extremely superior intelligence whose natural analytic process of reasoning is perfect application of the Genius formula. And it is also defined as one who innately reasons by perfect application of the Genius formula and whose level of intelligence is so distinctly separate from and superior to that which denotes a genius as to not be accurately measurable by the most advanced procedures of intelligence testing. Mega-truth is defined as a fundamental deduction of magnitude by perfect application of the Genius formula that reflects the total absence of falseness and has the potential of being perceived as true by everyone. It is also defined as a self-evident or potentially self-evident truth of basic nature and particular importance resulting from the perfect application of the Genius formula. We are told that in ancient Greece a man named Diogenes lighted a lantern and set forth on a journey into the darkness in search of an honest man. We are not told whether he ever found such a person. Now what does that sentence tell you? Some might surmise that he probably never returned. For many centuries people have speculated on the outcome of Diogenes' search. Does a truly honest person, one who always tells the truth, really exist? And did Diogenes find such a person? What do you think? Well, let's expand our scope, examine the sentence, exclude assumptions, and see if the rays of light from our own lantern can pierce the past millennia and finally answer the question, did Diogenes find an honest man? Since honesty falls on a gradient scale, Diogenes' potential discovery of an honest person would have depended on his own consideration of what constituted honesty and on his ability to keep from being fooled. No, without the use of the genius formula, I'm afraid that he was not successful, for it would have taken an extremely intelligent and therefore honest person to have accurately identified another one, and our old boy Diogenes apparently was not all that honest. In fact, I suspect that he might have just wanted some time out of the house, and really didn't even set out to do what he said. After all, if he had always told the truth, he wouldn't have to have searched anywhere, would he? After all, if he had always told the truth, he wouldn't have had to have searched anywhere, would he? There is no test more revealing of your character than your relationship with truth. Is it something you disregard, avoid, or feel uncomfortable about in its presence, or is it something you seek, cultivate, and intimately enjoy? Could it be, in this age of infinite information and negligible wisdom, that the two of you have never been properly introduced? Actually, one's relationship with truth is revealed by his actions in general. Some play life's cards close to the vest. They would never want you to think that they have much to hide, but obviously they do. Their faces are serious, actions secretive, and they have the nagging feeling that they are somehow losing in spite of their best and often dishonest efforts. And so they are. Most people can be described as cautious. Their game of life is a little too serious. They are often willing to cheat with what they feel is justification, as they are uncomfortable with an opponent having an edge. They will only show you some of their cards of life if you have revealed some of yours first, and then reluctantly. They win some and lose some, and, in the long run, lose more than they win. Occasionally you will meet a fellow who likes to have all of life cards dealt face up. He is happy, open, direct, receptive, and hopes you are the same. Quite probably he will win. Certainly he will continually enjoy playing the game. Here is a mega truth. Truth is the elixir of life. Ah, truth, that aesthetic and elusive goal of the greatest minds of the ages, the thing that no man can hold in his hand, but that many have lived intensely for, and billions have died for the want of. Truth. Here is another mega truth. No battle has ever been lost except for the want of truth. Its value as an ally is unlimited. It is said that the best defense is a good offense. Well, here is another mega truth. Truthfully, the best defense and the best offense is truth. Even the United States judicial system, which has only a passing acquaintance with truth, recognizes that truth is an absolute defense. It is the most devastating offense as well, for in the face of sufficiently expanding truth, no substantive defense is possible. Here is another mega truth. Truth is immeasurably more workable than force. Confront an opponent with gradually increasing truth, and he will scream bloody murder. Then, as the truth builds, he will continue thrashing and kicking, screeching and gnashing, spitting sparks and blood, and dancing in war paint and feathers, right up to the moment that his offense and defense simultaneously destruct utterly. The most important prerequisite to doing battle is that truth must be on your side. If it is, only a fool will attack you. If it is not, you have a fool for a general. Former United States President Harry S. Truman probably synopsized the principle best years after he had left office. He remembered, quote, "They called me Give 'em Hell Harry, but I never gave anybody hell. I just told the truth on them, and they thought it was hell." Unquote. So, what exactly is this gossamer thing of infinite beauty and might that the greatest minds have contemplated and sought until they spun in circles and dissolved in cerebral meltdowns? This priceless and elusive goal for which they have strived and fought, yet somehow failed to recognize more often than not. Truth is the true secret, buried in a riddle, wrapped in a great enigma, for it holds the answer to every question ever asked by man. Here is another mega-truth. All that man has ever wanted to know was the truth. Now, given the passing eons, the altruistic dedication of some, and the genius of at least a few, the mystery of how to know total truth should have been resolved beyond question ages ago. Strangely, it was not. Some say the solution is neither possible nor meant to be, and so, until they change their postulates, it shall not be for them. Truth is a unique commodity. It must be of supreme value, as the whole world seems to be selling it, and at the same time buying it, and many who have seen the least of it advertise the most vigorously. Yet truth is easier to see than an elephant on your doorstep when you know how to recognize it, but extremely few people do. Well, it surely is there. They just don't know when they are looking at it and when they are not. The steepest road on earth climbs more than 3,000 meters, or more than 10,000 feet, in about 60 kilometers, or 37 miles. The curviest road on earth consists of 617 curves and 56 miniature bridges over a course of only about 70 kilometers, or 44 miles. I have driven each of these roads more than 1,500 times, with never an accident. I have my reasons. The totality of that driving, however, is child's play compared to the first mile down the road to truth, which is the most landmine-laden, weak bridge-strewn, pothole-scattered, hilly, bumpy, and artfully deceptive road you can imagine. I confess here and now that unlocking the door to truth and journeying the road beyond, step by step, to the point that ultimate truth was in clear view, has been my life passion. It has taken me a little longer than I would care to say. The road to the door and the door itself are composed of supreme trickery, a phrase I use with care, and fortunately a subject I know well. At times it was difficult. I have borne the scars to prove it. It is a route that no one ever successfully traversed before the 20th century. You have already approached the locked door to truth by listening to these lectures. Beyond the door lies a road that many will traverse soon. You are part of the vanguard of the exploration of the last and greatest frontier. Do you think that exploring new continents, or surviving the old Wild West, or zapping through outer space to discover new worlds would be adventuresome? They are just patty cake. You ain't seen nothing compared to what will occur in the 21st century, and it all begins on the road to truth. Perhaps the truth that you most desire to see pertains to your relationship with another, or to a personal trait that you don't admire, or to some unsatisfied need within yourself. Or maybe you search for an understanding of the purpose of life, or the attainment of lasting happiness, or answers about the hereafter. Well, the process of realizing truth does not vary anatomically, regardless of the goal that you have in mind. The procedure remains exactly the same. The matter of learning the truth about any subject is essentially and invariably simple. When you get down to basics, Vichyssoise, supped from a golden spoon by candlelight, is still just a variety of potato soup. If this is true, then the whole process of recognizing truth, when thoroughly understood, would have to be simple, right? It is more simple than you think. For the first time, we are going to address a subject in some depth. As you begin, realize that the whole Truth series consists of some 8 interdependent lectures. Therefore, you must understand all of each lecture before progressing to the next. If you do not, you will become deeply lost in the whole process and conclude that I am really mentally deficient. Just ensure that you understand each sentence and all the words used in it. This is not a 100-meter dash. When you have finished, speed will not matter. understanding will count for everything. If necessary, use a dictionary. Being a genius is not a prerequisite to understanding the Whole Truth series of lectures. You merely need to take your time and understand each sentence before continuing. Are you smart enough to do that? Then you are intelligent enough to discover the real truth about truth. So, lean back, relax, and prepare to cut in your mental afterburner. Here is nothing but the truth. Discovery of truth requires full, accurate, and thorough observation and unemotional differentiation. Unfortunately, neither of those precious qualities is taught in the modern educational system of any country in the world. Frankly, truth can be hell to figure out. Once understood, however, it is simple to explain. Again, the first thing you should know about truth is what it is not. It is not something, but rather an absence. It's a good thing that Diogenes did not leave the homestead to find truth, because he surely would have died trying. That was the first mistake invariably made by each of the great minds of ages past. The old philosopher took a stiff drink, gripped the arms of his favorite rocket chair, and began his white-knuckle ride in search of truth. Bon voyage! Wrong. Mission aborted. He never even attained orbit altitude. Truth was 1 trillion light-years beyond the North Star, and he ended up drifting in a parachute south. Truth is not something you seek. He assumed it was a something, and it isn't. It's a nothing. It's a static. It's an absence. Now, bear with me. It will all make sense in a moment. Assuming that truth was a something wasn't even the old philosopher's first mistake. It was his second. He just took one step, his first baby step, along the road to truth, and already he was in way over his head as a result of having made 2 assumptions that resulted in 2 fatal mistakes. Such is the road to truth. His second mistake was that he assumed that truth was something. His first mistake was that he assumed that he knew what it was and, therefore, never accurately identified the something for which he was searching. Had he identified truth, he would have known that it was a nothing. And believe me, there is an immense difference between searching for a something and searching for a nothing. The clever 18th century French writer François Voltaire stumbled onto an important bit of truth when he said, quote, "If you would argue with me, first define your terms," unquote. Now, in the case of our old philosopher, let's advise, if you would search for anything, first accurately define that for which you search. Now, your dictionary will tell you the word truth means sincerity in utterance, or statement of actual case, or something similar. Well, it doesn't. You can utter or state things about truth with sincerity until the North Star points south, but that's not truth. That's only talking about it, without having defined what it is that's being talked about. We need to find the golden keys to unlock the stately door to the road to truth. As it happens, there are 3 locks requiring 3 keys, and the first golden key is the following megatruth. A workable definition of truth is the total absence of falseness. No one can ever traverse the road to truth without knowing that. Once you know what truth is, the total absence of falseness, it's important to know that that's exactly what it is, and that it is not anything else. Truth is like a bucket of fresh water. It's good for you, but add 1 drop of arsenic, and it is not fresh water anymore. Neither is it very good for you. With sufficient knowledge, you can change anything at all in this entire universe, but you can never change truth. The instant you try to change truth, even minutely, truth will vanish. For example, imagine some truth in front of you. Make it vast and clean and white, so we are all thinking similarly. Now let's do the only thing you can do to truth to try to change it. Let's add a lie, a little black one. Put it right in the center of truth. Poof! Now you do not have the truth anymore. You are seeing something different. It has changed. There is our black dot, our lie, right in the center of it. Truth is exactly what it is, and it is not anything else. The slightest change to it, and you no longer see truth. Here's an example. The devil and a companion were walking along a path deep in the woods. Far ahead they saw a gentleman stop along the trail, pick up something, and examine it. The devil snickered. Then the gentleman put what he had found in his pocket and continued on his way. "What did he find?" the devil's companion asked. "He found truth," replied the devil with a smirk. "Well, if he found truth," the companion inquired, "why are you so happy?" "Because," sneered the devil, "I'm going to help him organize it." You have been lied to. There is no such thing as a twisted truth, a partial truth, or a half-truth. Don't ever let anyone sneak up, pop a bag over your head, and fool you on that one, although for many reasons they surely will try. You will hear it from anyone who has an interest in dealing in falseness in hopes of gaining a favor or a coin, and from anyone who does not have the courage to face the truth. Here is the person who wants to trick you into doing something you don't want to do. Here is the con artist who wants to separate you from your money. Here is the coward who is afraid to admit what he really did. All of them will try to change or conceal, at least in part, what they know to be true, and that is not truth. Lies can be big and black or little and white, but neither kind is the truth. The first may even be criminal, and the second more or less socially acceptable in a civilization with questionable ethics. No matter what story someone told, though, if it contained even a harmless, carefully polished little white lie, in the final analysis he did not tell the truth. No person can tell half of the truth, for truth is like a butterfly. If you chop it in half, you no longer have a butterfly. It does not walk, eat, breathe, or in any other way act like a butterfly. It can't even flutter by. The judicial system of the United States of America is one of the best in the world, but, like those of all other governments, is woefully inadequate at determining the truth. Although it surely is not the judge's intention, those sounds from the courtroom emanating from his gavel suggest to me the reverberation of gunshots fired into the heart of truth. For example, supposedly everyone who is charged with a crime is entitled to a defense. But why should anyone who is guilty deserve a defense? But prior to a trial, we don't know whether a defendant is or is not guilty, right? And that leads to my point. The purpose of a trial should be to reveal truth, in which case it's nonsensical to permit lawyers to alter and withhold pertinent facts, and to allow defendants and their spouses to refuse to give testimony that may incriminate the defendants. If the objective is truth, then all participants should be required to reveal truth to the best of their abilities. To the degree that they are allowed to deviate from that, less truth will be disclosed, more truth will be concealed, innocent persons will suffer, criminals will be released, and justice will be lost. But then, in spite of any illusion that may be convenient to believe, in the final analysis there is a higher form of justice. Here is a megatruth. The justice that one receives is the justice that one creates. The system does, however, at least have one finger on truth's faint pulse. It knows that anything different from, or less than, the truth is not the truth. Quote, "Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" Unquote. There are many ways one can attempt to prevent you from seeing the truth, besides the two old favorites of attempting to twist the truth a little bit and only telling part of the truth. An old and frequently used trick is to submerge a lie right in the center of a pot full of truth. Off you go with it under your arm, to discover too late that whatever you bought, it was not truth. Also, it would have tested positive for arsenic. I recall a distinguished political attorney from Washington, D.C., Russell B. Pace, who had traveled the world perfecting his hobby of fishing, which he had refined into a considerably more rare avocation, catching. Thinking I might learn something from his decades of experience, I asked him one day, "Do you have a favorite bait?" Standing up from his desk to ensure that I understood the importance of what he was about to say, he replied, quote, "Remember this, fish bite worms." Unquote. Well, it's also true that people buy Crocs all over the world every day. Their attention is limited. They do not examine closely. They assume that what they are looking at is what it appears to be. That's the genius formula turned inside out. Just like fish, they bite down hard on something that looks delectable, only to learn with considerable sorrow that there is something hidden inside that hurts. Don't get caught. It might be a lover telling you exactly what you want to hear, or the best deal on a used car you ever saw, or some traditional religious belief, or just about anything else. If you do not use the genius formula on it, though, you may well inherit a deeply broken heart, or a cosmetically enhanced jalopy, or an unfortunate steer into the deep. Just because something appears gloriously true on the outside does not mean that it is necessarily true all the way through. Learn a lesson from the brown-spotted sucker and watch out for the hook. Truth, then, is the total absence of falseness, and exactly that, and nothing else. Once you know clearly what truth is, the next step is to head out in the right direction. Accordingly, to end up with truth, you do not set out searching for it, because it is an absence, a total absence of falseness, a non-existence. Rather, you turn around 180 degrees and seek and address the thing that is preventing it, falseness. Now, the idea of discovering truth by setting out in the opposite direction and seeking falseness seems absurd, if not downright evil. That's what made it one of the U-turns along the road to truth that the intelligentsia has consistently failed to negotiate. Let's not be too hard, though, on the old philosopher. His intention was good, and he did his best. Which way would you have turned if you had seen two signs, one marked falseness with an arrow to the left, and another marked truth with an arrow to the right? Right, wrong, left, right. Think of it this way. If you were traveling along a road and encountered a barrier, you would have to effectively address the barrier before you could continue along the road. Well, the only barriers you will find anywhere along the road to truth are lies, tons of them. The secret to success is identifying them and addressing them, for any time you perceive falseness so thoroughly that you see what it actually is, rather than just what it appears to be, you will need to look no further. You will see truth. Truth is the most natural state of existence. It is what exists when falseness does not. It may be obscured by an allegation that something happened that did not, or that something that did not happen did. When one sees the obstruction, he misses the truth. But when he looks closely enough to see the obstruction for what it is, falseness, it no longer obstructs his vision, and so he sees the truth. For example, imagine that you have encountered a supposedly tame, blue-fronted Amazon parrot, engrossedly preening itself on an open perch in a pet shop. You stare at the bird, and it glances at you without missing a stroke. It's cute. You gingerly reach to caress its breast. Abruptly, the parrot snaps at your hand, emits a terrorizing screech, beats its wings in anger, and glares at you with ruffled head feathers. A salesperson, attracted by the commotion, approaches, whereupon little Eva steps onto his hand as nicely as you please, smothers him with kisses, and mumbles dreamfully as he massages the feathered serpent's neck. Now, given the bird's sudden and complete change of behavior, you somehow feel a little foolish. And fooled you were. For if the truth be known, something that you thought happened did not, and something that you thought did not happen did. Actually, not only did the parrot not try to hurt you, but she expected and wanted to be held by you. As your hand approached her breast, she recognized it as the signal to step forward and onto it. Because her wings had been partially clipped to limit flight, thereby introducing a chance of injury if she should fall, she reached toward your finger to test its stability with her beak and to hold on to it as she stepped onto it. Not recognizing this as normal behavior for a parrot, you jerked her hand away in fear. She screamed and flapped her wings in frustration at being betrayed. She could have fallen and hurt herself. And then she forgivingly ruffled her head feathers, indicating that little Eva wanted to be scratched. The instant that you recognize the falseness of the apparent truth, the obstruction, the real truth magically appears. Here is the second golden key and another megatruth. To discover truth, seek falseness. Those, then, are the first two golden keys to the almost impervious portal marked truth. Again, it has 3 locks that must be opened in the proper order. First, knowing precisely what it is, it's the total absence of falseness. And second, knowing the direction in which to proceed, and you proceed toward falseness. In the next lecture, we will explore how to know truth when we see it.